How many times have you said, what's happening to our society? Wow, I wish there was something I could do to make a change. Does it seem like we've become milquetoast Christians? So many of our rights, our Christian rights, are dwindling away. So how does this connect with the walk to Emmaus? The walk to Emmaus is based on a scripture, Luke 24:13 through 16. And I'm not going to read that because Paul and I only have 12 minutes each to do our... So you're going to have to look that up on your own. I will give you a quick synopsis. There are two apostles who are walking from Jerusalem to Emmaus after the crucifixion. And a stranger joins them and walks along, and they spend the day walking and talking. At the end of the day, they decide to eat together. And at that time, it's Jesus who shows himself and shows that he's been the stranger walking with them, the resurrected Christ. The walk to Emmaus is a 72-hour weekend renewal, Christian renewal. I will tell you, they do require you to leave your cell phone at home. I know some of you would have a problem with that. But the weekend is so well organized, you will never miss it. It's a time of learning, laughing, participating in small groups. It's mixed with a quiet time so you can grow your faith, so you can pray and worship. You can meet others and enjoy their company with good meals. They really feed you very well. It's a time to learn of God's grace. On Sunday evening, they have a candlelight service. It's a very moving service, and it's the culmination of that weekend. Participants have returned with a renewed, permanently changed faith. Participants have gone home and found new ways to connect with their families, this church, and with the places where they work. So why should you do this work or this walk? Why should you give up a weekend? If you're looking to strengthen your spiritual life and gain an understanding of what it is to be a Christian, if you need answers to some of those questions about your faith, then you should try the walk to Emmaus. I know you can think of all kinds of reasons why you shouldn't give up a weekend. Oh, I know. I could just come and do the Bible study at church. I could socialize at coffee hour. I could join the United Methodist Women. I could join the men's club. I could read some really good books and learn a lot about my faith. But I guarantee you, nothing will move you and change your life more than the walk to Emmaus. The walk to Emmaus is also designed to build leadership. Now, I want to be perfectly honest with you. When I was asked if I wanted to do the walk to Emmaus, and I was told that someone would sponsor me, I was told about what a wonderful, moving experience I would have. It would deeply move me. So at the end of the first day, when I crawled into bed at the walk to Emmaus, I could hear everybody around me saying, "Oh, this is so wonderful. I'm just feeling so fulfilled." And I laid there in bed and I said, "Well, this is nice. This is okay. I've learned a lot today, not only about my religion, but I've learned about me, but I'm just not feeling it. It's nice." I went through the second day, and I spent time at the different, participating in small groups and listening to different talks. And that night when I crawled into bed, I heard the people around me say, "I was so moved today." And I laid there and I said, "Well, this is nice. This is good. I've learned some things today. Maybe I'm just a slow learner." the next day, things really started to hit home. And I realized I had spent so much time participating and listening and learning that I forgot to open my heart and feel. By the end of the Walk to Emmaus weekend, I had learned something very important, something I really never felt before. I had learned how much God really loves me. I never really felt that before. And I still carry that with me. And I did the walk in 2011. And that's something that hasn't left me yet. Many of the discussion groups not only focus on great Christian experiences, but they also focus on ways to improve yourself. For you to make changes, personal changes, so that you can go home and make personal changes in your life and your church. The scripture for today talks about our bodies and having different components, and yet they all work together. They're all part of that body. This church is the same way. We have so many people who have talents. And if we all work together and put our talents together, we would be working together as a body, each part working and giving the most. Think about some of the talents you have, and think about things you could use them in this church so that this church will grow. The walk to Emmaus grows your faith, and it helps you to reach out and share to others. Think of the large things that grow from small seeds. Think of the big trees that come from very small seeds. Think of the small things that people do that make a big difference. Can you imagine what could grow if everyone in this church came forward and used your talents so that we could reach out into the community and reach other people? In the narthex, there's a list of those people who've done the walk to Emmaus. They're people who have strengthened their Christian experience. They're people who have grown stronger because of their experience. They're not milquetoast Christians. They're Christians who work together. One thing that the walk to Emmaus does is to teach leadership. So whenever you go out to the narthex afterwards and you see the people that are there that did the walk to Emmaus, please take time to ask them questions. Ask them about the walk. Ask them what they got from the walk. Ask them what they learned. Ask them the most important thing, how it changed their life, how it changed who they were and how they think. You can make a change in this world just by making a small change in you. You can make a change. So if you're looking to strengthen your life, to become a stronger Christian, to find a way to make a difference in this world, think of the harvest that we could have from this church if we all participated, if we all worked hard to share our talents. Take a good look at the walk to Emmaus, because it just might change your life. God loves you, and so do I.
Thank you, Pam. Without further ado, here we go. This is just welcome to the emotional roller coaster that is my mind in this. So, as we had mentioned, Pastor Dean's currently on the walk to Emmaus as a spiritual guider. Now, he's attended the walk as a pilgrim, and now he's back there as a spiritual guider. And basically what the spiritual guiders do, they're kind of like, they're not necessarily teachers, but they help answer any questions that you may have. They're like a middle school teacher. That's the best way I could describe the spiritual guiders. Now, if you haven't already attended the walk or the flight, I highly recommend you do so. I mean, the people that have attended the walk, they're wearing these necklaces, they're circles. Now, mine's a butterfly because mine's the chrysalis flight. At first, I was a caterpillar, and then I was in my cocoon, and now I'm a butterfly. And so, at the start of the, they're currently doing a lot of in-depth study about what their relationship with God means to them. And I can tell you, I had an architectural history class, I had a trigonometry class, and currently I have a sociology class. And I've never taken as many notes in those classes as I took this weekend. My notebook is just filled with notes. And I had asked at the start of this at the start of the service, what is one place in your life where everything just makes sense? Everything just falls into place. You know what to do at every single moment, and you know how to solve a problem if a problem were to arise. As we dive into this a little more, I'm going to introduce myself the way we had to introduce ourselves on the chrysalis flight. Hello, my name is Paul. I attended Flight 55 in Schwartz Creek. I sat at Knights of the Round Table because I went to Walled Lake Northern. And my spot is the drums. My spot is the drums. Ponder that with me for a moment, because I have a lot of spots. The mountain biking trail out at Pontiac Lake, Lakeshore Park, Mayberry State Park, those are all my spots. C114, it's a studio at the Auburn Hills campus out at Oakland Community College. That's a spot of mine as well. Now, why are those my spots? Better yet, what defines to me the word spot? We may look at the word spot and completely overlook the impact and the magnitude that they have in our daily lives. The reason why these are my spots is because I feel alive at every single one of those spots. There's not a day that I don't leave Lakeshore Park feeling accomplished. Every time I go out there with emotional baggage and just want to leave everything out on the trail, I leave knowing, well, I didn't fall today. I went over the log structure very good, and I got some air off the crater, so today was good. Mayberry State Park, Pontiac Lake, Lakeshore, those are very fast, very technical, and fun trails. Dave, would you not agree that those are some of the nice trails around here? Most excellent. They are pretty tasty, aren't they? Now, C114, it's not outdoors, and there are absolutely no windows in that classroom. But it holds a place near and dear to my heart. I have a tackle box at home filled with probably about $200 worth of drafting markers. And that studio is where I first put those drafting markers to a copy drawing. And it's now what I'm looking to pursue as my degree. I want to be a renderer at an architecture firm more than anything in this life. And that's basically the adult way of saying I get to color for a living. So, now, those are my spots. And I mentioned the drums as my spot for a reason. And you're probably wondering, Paul, what's the point? What's your connection? You're talking a lot about yourself up there, and I'm trying to wrap my brain around this. Well, the chrysalis flight and the walk to Emmaus, they help bring out our strengths as Christians, and they help us find out what we can do with our strengths in the church. Case in point, my spot. So, while I was attending my flight, I didn't even know it, but God was leading me to my spot. Before the flight, the idea of playing the drums on Sundays, my favorite band in the whole wide world is the Red Hot Chili Peppers. My favorite classic rock band is Pink Floyd. That was my music. Christian music isn't for me. That's the excuse. That's not the reason. That's the excuse I gave everyone that said, Paul, you should join the praise band because you play the drums and we need a drummer. I gave an excuse. Now the idea of not being behind the drums on a Sunday, I decided to put my talents to use after the flight, and the idea of not being behind the drums on a Sunday, it's totally unpleasant to me. Now, before the flight, I was a mess. It was an absolute mess. My insides were thorns and thistles. My mom's a master gardener. When I ask her how her day was, and she comes home and she's like, my client Paul, thistles. I know it was a day. Thistles as long as my arm and roots about half my body. I know it was a day. And those thistle roots were wrestling with my faith. I was about as far away from God as I had ever been in my entire lifetime. And I'm ashamed to say that, and I've always told people, I'm probably the best actor you've ever met in your life. Because on the exterior, I had my head on straight, I was going right down this aisle, right down a straight line, but inside I was just serpentining everywhere. And when I started talking about this, people said, Paul, you're only 20. And I said, and I've only known God on a personal level for 3.5 years. I can honestly say 3.5 years of my life, I've known God. Now, I discovered my spot through the obvious question we were asked on my flight, and it was, what are your guys' passions, and what could you do to use your passions in a way that glorifies God? And the church has a drummer spot open. I could make that my sitting and rocking place. In 10 seconds, my life had forever changed, and my life's been better because of my flight. I've described my life after this weekend as my bike workshop. I'm a mountain biker, proud of it, and I won't deny it. I have a workshop in my garage set up, and I have my bike repair stand and my assorted tools. Going on this flight was like going to the hardware store, buying all the tools I needed to repair my bike. I got my tools, got the free popcorn that every hardware store has, and I now can walk out my door every single day knowing that God is always with me. Now, my friend Sean Renault, she moved to Florida. She's one of my best friends from the architecture program out in Auburn Hills. She had gone through a really nasty time in her life, and she had asked me to describe the way that I view God. And I simply said, Sean, I'm a mountain biker. God's our master mechanic to me. And he rebuilt me. I was completely broken, and he rebuilt me in 2013 in March. He fixed my insides, my mind, and helped lead me to my spot. Now, I posed the question, what are your guys' spots? If you had 10 seconds to think of a spot off the top of your head, could you guys answer that for me? And I want you to think about it. And we all have spots. We have spots in our daily lives where things are comfortable, they make sense. It could be at work, it could be at home with a musical instrument in your hands. That's how it is for me. Now, but what are we doing with those spots to make those spots special? How are we using our spots to glorify God? What we do with our spots should make people say, that's a godly person. There's something about that person that we just don't see in mainstream society today. That's a person that's going to fix this messed up world we live in today. Just take a look at the news. As Pam said, there's so much out there that needs to be fixed. Now, before I went on the flight, my spots weren't like that at all. People would have seen me and say, that's a stressed out, angry college student. He probably needs a chicken wrap and a place to nap for about 8 hours. I would come home after long days in the studio just drawing and my eyes going just completely dull because drawing a line for 8 hours takes a toll on your eyes. Now, my mom would say, baby, you need to go to bed. And my response would be to walk right past her, go to my room, to my drafting table, and say, Mom, I don't have time for that. I have drawings to do. And then they have to be copied, rendered, and if they don't have to be blueprinted, they need to be rendered. I had stuff to do, and it was not the prettiest time to see me. I was stressed way beyond where I thought I could have ever been stressed to. I was angry and frustrated with my professors, and I just wasn't happy at all. Melissa, my best friend and my girlfriend, if she would have seen me the Friday before I left, she would have said, Paul, you need help. You look awful, and you look like you've lost weight. The freshman 15 that everyone gains, I lost 15 pounds because of stress. I was working so hard on my school stuff that I looked awful. My friend Sarah asked me one night in the studio, Paul, when was the last time you ate? That's a pretty straightforward and standard question that us architecture students asked. And my response instantly was 6 p.m. yesterday, 7 a.m. this morning if you count a 99-cent bag of Doritos as food. Now, I hope I painted the picture of an angry and stressed out college kid because that was a reality. I was about as far off the track from God as I have ever been in my life. If the walk of the flight can help someone who is as calloused as me, as stressed out and angry as me, who is about as far off the track as I had ever been in my entire lifetime, then the walk in the flight can move mountains. I found my spot, my place in the church, where things just make sense. For all of us that have our spots, could I just see a raise of hands? Who here absolutely knows definitively what their spot is? All right, Mr. Newton in the back, what's your spot? Wonderful. Let's see here. Who has another volunteer? Who has their spot? Mr. Walters. Excuse me? Maple River? Okay. Gotcha. I see the connection. All right. Now, for those of you that kind of know what your spot is, just raise a hand who here kind of knows what their spot is. Okay, there's a lot of us. Who here has absolutely no idea? Who here has no idea? Okay. For those of you that have no idea, for those of you that know me, I'm a musician. And I'm going to say something that's going to come as a bit of a shock to you. And it's a good thing you're all sitting down because it's not a question of if this will baffle you. But don't worry, it's nothing bad. I'm 20. I'm 20. I'm going to be 21 this upcoming January. I've been a musician for 16 years. From the young age of 4, I started taking lessons and playing the piano. Mom, Miss Gail would be ashamed to hear this. Miss Gail is my piano teacher. It took me 11 years to find out that I was a musician. It took me 11 years to figure that out. After being ridiculed for 4 years from 6th grade to 9th grade, I said enough is enough. I joined a band with my friend. They lured me with hockey and pizza. They knew my weakness, knew exactly what they wanted. They wanted a keyboard player. And joined a band, started playing concerts with them. We did Battle of the Band at Walled Lake Northern, and I had a blast with them. I wouldn't have asked for anything better for my high school years. It took me another 4 years to realize that I could do something to glorify God with my music. So there's 16 years of music here that's improving my craft, the study of music. 16 years of that, and 15 years I had absolutely no idea what to do with it. It may not come to you overnight. Case in point, me. I had no idea what to do with my music. But I assure you that talking to God will start you in the right direction. And that's what the Chrysalis flight did for me. I went to Schwartz Creek Friday morning, was stressed out. This is the absolute worst time for me to go. I have 8 drawings due Tuesday, and not one of them was started. This was a horrible time for me to go, but it was the best time. Now, our spots, what are we doing with our spots to make God happy? Are we doing things in our daily lives that show that we are Christians and that we want to spread God's word? If we're not doing it, I would take today to analyze that. I understand there's football, and I understand that some of us have, family that we want to see, but I would take it could be 5 seconds, it could be 5 minutes. If you feel moved enough to do 5 hours, by all means, wonderful. But take just a fraction out of your day to ask God, you know me inside and out. You know my faults, my weaknesses. You know my strengths and my successes. You know what I can do, and you know what I'm capable of. What's my spot and what's my plan? He may get to you within the hour. So we're going to end the service today with something a little unconventional. I'm going to have the band come up, and we're just going to get started. And I take music very seriously. I love what I do. I've called this entire sanctuary my office because I come right from class to drum. And then I go back to class. Now, we have the altar railings up here. I invite you guys, if you guys feel like you want to come up and kneel at the altar and pray, that's what they're here for today. And really dive into our plan, what we are capable of doing as Christians. Thank you.
Awesome.